Welcome back to Giro3 YouTube channel. In this video we're having a look at a new and upcoming rotator, or improved or upgraded and everything else. It's basically a hybrid between a KR-400, KR-600 and a DC motor. So basically the DC motor is from a destroyed Yaesu G-1000, and basically I've actually they normally sit out a fair way from this. I've actually shortened everything down and repositioned a few things inside. I probably should show you that. Well, I might do that actually. I may as well show you this, what little mods that I did. So basically it's basically the same in here as it always was, but I've removed the original. So basically I removed the original filters, coil filters. I put in, probably can't see that well, I put in two, they're on their sides now. So basically I've scalloped out the sides of this as posts down here normally. I'll probably show you those. This one is okay. Okay, this is what a normal one looks like. So the posts go all the way down because it's a moulding, and this is another one I've done just recently, as this will be probably another one I'll do. So I've scalloped out all these, so I can actually put this. Okay, this is what the original system looks like. So it actually pushes the motor up a fair way. I needed the distance down, and because I don't have much, I needed the motor to drop down a fair bit. So basically, as you can see, I've glued these in on an angle, put 0.1 microfarad ceramic capacitors in there as well, and then these will actually sit in those two scallops there, you can call them, or cleanouts. So basically when you get into there like that, that'll just slide into there. Now it doesn't want to go back together again. What a pain. There we go. So everything's a bit of a tight fit. Yeah, it doesn't want to go back together. I'll fix it up later. So basically, yeah, we'll carry on. So, okay, we'll carry on. Okay, other thing we've done is the original mount. This original mount here, the aluminium part, is the sub chassis. This is a brand new sub chassis I've got here, which I will be selling. Or it will be. Sells off my website. This is to replace G-800 and G-1000's lower chassis. So basically, as you can see, I've cut out this square section, and it just so happens that the holes match up with a mounting plate for a KR-400. That's a KR-400 mounting plate. So basically, it's been cut out. I then cut, as you can see, it's a cut around this to fit this whole section, that section there, into here, and it's actually sandwiched between the original motor plate and the new refurbished upgraded KR-400 plate. This is bugging me now that this is not sitting back in there properly. Shouldn't have bugged me. Okay, so basically we have a G-1000 G-800 motor. And the only other mod I've done to this is cut away here a little bit. As you can see, there's a bit of a cutaway there. This just gets around some of the mounting points and bits and pieces. So based on all intents and purposes, it's a G-1000 motor. And I'll be going into a KR-600, or it's going to be called a KR-680 rotator. So basically that's the motor, so it's all taken care of. The base plate was painted because they can be a bit crappy over time. And as you can see, they tend to get a bit rusted away and eaten away. This one that's actually got a nice hole in it. That's where the breather sits. So basically that's the motor out of the road for now. So the top plate of the KR-400, the base is off a KR-400 as well. The difference between a KR-400 and 600 is the posts here are different heights, and the KR-600 runs a fibre gear, and in a different position, and the KR-500 runs that gear, that plastic gear. So basically, as you can probably see, this gear is basically stuffed. So now to come off this one, this is the one that come off here, so I'm grind the actual, this is like the little loco, little wiper washer on there. So basically, you've got to get this off without causing too much damage. And basically, I've then taken one off a 600, a KR-600, and I put it back in its same place, which means same gearing, we're in the same position. All I had to do then was elongate this hole to allow it to adjust more, because this gear is now bigger, as you saw before. That gear is bigger than that gear, so just a bit more adjustment across this way to get it to align and everything. So it gets pretty close here, but it's going to fit in. So then I have put the hole in for the wiring to go down to the limit switches, new limit switch positions here, very similar to this KR-600 position. And so basically, what else did I do on this? So I put these bushes in here to space everything up, down I should say, it goes that way, goes down. So basically, this is all ready to all go back together. So the base, as you see, has a massive big hole here. Well, I think it was reasonably square. I had to square it out a bit to fit the motor in. When you've got to get it in and turn it and everything. So base that's can cut out. Put the hole for the wiring. This has the KR-500 spacers, and basically I elongated the hole because I was going to do something different for the potentiometer. Now I'm going back to the standard configuration. So that's another story. I'll tell you about that later on. The posts, the gear shafts are 8mm as opposed to 7, and they have been affixed into the base, as I probably mentioned before in a previous video, but we'll do it again anyway. So basically, if I had all I do is get a cold chisel and I hit it longitudinal. That's a big word for the time of day. So all the way around, doing a hit this way, puts a groove in it, all the way around. Well, grooves I should say, all around. So I think I put 6 grooves in it. And then I physically press them into the hole, and then I actually, to make sure they don't move, I physically then knoll the end, or flare the ends out, basically, on here. So as you see, they're a bit flared out. So that's much better, and we'll hold everything nice and tight. And then of course I've chucked a bit of paint on it, on that, and I then put the bushes in. This is my original version I used to use. The new version is these ones here. This is the Yaesu one I cut down, which I mentioned in the previous video. So this is the old version that someone made up for me, and it's a thick version. So that's all in there. So basically, the first gear that's going to go in there is my new, my throat is a bit sore, is a new KD38T solid gear, as opposed to all the separate gears, which I didn't bring over. Right. Now, I've probably mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. So in the early version KR 400s, they only had a 3 stack of 3 loose gears on the final drive gear, and later on they changed it to a 4 stack because the ring gears were getting chewed to pieces with only a 3 stack, and people overloading rotators, as people do. So basically the early version of this was 8mm because it matched the thickness of this, which is 8mm. What I've done in this version is I have made it thicker. I'll try and hold these gears together and try and show you the difference. Turn the thing in the right way so you can visually see it. It's 1mm thicker. So this is now 9mm thick. We've got about 9.5mm of area on the ring gear, I think it is, 9.5. And this then has a recess put in it for the very next gear, which is this gear here. This is the next gear in drive, because that one there goes there. and that gear sits within that recess, and you can actually put a bit of grease in there. This can also have shims put in it to physically get the spacing exactly right, but this one is working pretty good. Other thing I had to do, and this one is the 8mm shafts version. I do the normal 7mm, which is that'll be up for sale as well on my website soon. So they come in a 7 or 8mm. When you need to go the 8mm, we have to bore the gears out. These gears are bored out to an 8mm. All these gears were bored out to the 8mm. Just means we've got stronger shafts and everything. They're all out of water, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So basically, all those, and then a friend of mine did these for me, and then I cleaned them all up, and they all work really well. So basically, we get away from these loose stacked gears that separate and can chew and give out aluminium in between, and then they can start separating and doing more damage. So I mentioned that. So basically, I'll show you this all going together while we're here. Hope this battery doesn't die. So basically, there's the KD38T on there. We've already got the original spacer on there. So the next gear goes in line, as you can see. Shot to the camera, not to me. The next gear is that next big one. So this is basically, these gears are all basically KR-400, KR-680. They all use the same gears. Even the KR-500 use the same gears. Let's see which one I've got next. I moved these around, didn't I? Yeah, okay. So this goes into there. Let's run it down. I've got all the light going here, so that's the next gear in line. Whoops, it went flying. So this is basically brings it back up to the KR-600 gear ratio, and we have my modified Yaesu spacers, and they go on there like that. And since I haven't got the motor back in this yet, that's another thing I've got to do. So basically, this will then go into here. Spin the gear to get to go up. So basically, there we are all together, and shows you how well everything is working. I can turn this from here. Let me adjust. So there we are. So everything is all good. Everything on top there's a bit greased up, so now I've got to grease it over me. Okay, so this is the first part. I will be assembling the rest of it and doing some little short videos of the assembling the motor onto and fixing up that now, and basically going through the assembly process. So I think I've showed you enough, and we shall catch you in the next part. Righto. Okay, in this one I have installed the potentiometer and the pot dry gear and the pot gear, and I've actually got my alignment mark on here, and I've done my pre-alignment. I had to do a little bit of filing to the hole to make sure that there was no loose backlashing gears. So this part is actually ready. Okay, I have that over there. I have basically installed the motor. As you can see, that cutaway I mentioned before was to get past the gear since it sits across so far. So basically it is in. I've done some pre-tensioning. You don't want too tight, you don't want too loose, so I've done that. And I've also installed the limit switches, and I've done the alignment of limit switches, so it turns off just prior to hitting the end stop. So you maybe hear it. Stops there, and this one stops. The same position. So there we go. So just a matter of bending the arms. In some of the early ones, they used to just turn off there and there. It's like you had no overlap. So all good. So I've actually oiled my oil hole here for the gear, because I've already put the grease onto these gears as it is, these first ones, so they're all ready to go. Next stage, we're going to be doing some assembly. Catch you next step. Okay, we're back. Rightio, I already showed you that bit. So now I have installed all the gears, installed all the gears, the shafts have been greased, everything's been greased. So basically now we are going to install this into there. I'll get the wires out of the road. So I'd already pre-terminated the actual wiring for the potentiometer. So basically we've got to go in like this to get underneath the terminals. I had to cut enough room at the back here so I could get that into there, and to also miss this screw that's here. So basically make sure the gears are aligned. Yep, gears are all aligned. Cool. Snapped into place. We can now put on the screws, or the bolts I should say. These are bolts, hex bolts, and I'll nip those up. I must remember to look through the back of the camera when I'm doing this, otherwise you don't see what I'm doing. Alrighty, there we go, we're all happy. Now I can move on to installing it in. I'm going to do all the pre-do all the wiring and do some testing, and then I'll be back to show you all that. Catch you in part whatever we're up to. We're back, another update. Okay, righty-o, I just sort of get back to you quickly. Okay, I've wired up the limit switches and put the diodes on for running back the other way when it hits limit switches. Motor's in, as you see, it's all wired here, and basically it's all together. So all I have to do now is wire on the plug, the socket. This is a socket which you don't have to take off ever again, because this socket, once it's wired on, is pushed from the inside to the out with a lock nut. So when you want to service it, undo, push in, you don't have to unwire anything. Much better way of going, because nothing worse than just unsoldering everything every bloody time you make a mistake. You've got to put it back together again, yada yada yada. Just pull it out, you can test it on the bench and then put it back together again. No brainer in my book, but whatever. So yeah, these are a LTW Amphenol socket I use. So there's LTW written on there if you can see it. And all plastic, high impact plastic stuff. This socket plug, I should say, comes in several pieces, has a gland in the back, even has the seal in there, and it's like a epoxy. The pins are sort of epoxied in. So there you go. So there's that. So we'll move forward. Okay, the casings, as you can see, all painted, and I've installed the stainless steel front cover for the socket. That's screwed on and silicone in place, so it doesn't have to be removed again. I've also installed M8 stainless steel inserts into the 4 base mounting points. The ring gear, bearing ring, not ring gear, the bearing ring is in pretty good condition, all things considered. I had a glass bead blast, and then I polished up the bearing track, and I polished the bearing track on this one up as well, because the whole thing was glass bead blasted on the outside. I should actually move these around the other way. Put that way around, put that way. I've also, this is the top housing. It's been glass bead blasted. Inside was in good condition. So basically, all it needed was, as I did with the rest of them, it was, when I come back from the glass bead blaster, it was washed in Prepsol and then etch primed and painted in this epoxy enamel pewter. I've also installed M8 what do they call them, buddy? M8 recoil inserts into the top housing, and also I've done the 4 mounting points for threads for the bearing ring. So everything has recoil inserts in it, so we're not talking about aluminium on steel and aluminium, or stainless steel and aluminium. We now got inserts that will actually make it much easier to work on and shouldn't cause any problems, and a lot stronger since I'm beefing the whole thing up. So there we go, that's this update. I'm going to wire this next, put the plug on and move forward, so we shall catch you shortly. Bye. We're back, assembly time. Okie dokie, here we go. Rightio, first thing we need to do, make sure that it's got a gland, a washer on here. I think it must be neoprene, it's like a grey sort of colour. So first thing we need to do is make sure we orientate pin 1, which is already marked. Poke it through the hole. Grab the lock nut. Just snip it up for now by fingers. Push all the wires away from being squished or whatever. Cool. Grab the screws, drop the screws in. And we can move forward. Grab the noisemaker. Just loosely put them all in for now. Make sure it's all good. Give them a nip up. Sorry about the vibrations. I see the camera vibrate my head. Oh well. Righty-o. Here we are. The socket, plug it, the socket already in there. Plate's already on. Wiring's already done. I even put a little boot. There's a bit of old covering from some trailer cable stuff I had. Oops. And I'll put that in here to physically put the wires from the limit switches back down to the motor, or from up and back down to the motor. As you can see, everything's sitting in there really neat and tidy. I can now go away and do some pre-testing and all that sort of lovely sort of stuff, and making sure everything's working the right way, and then I will be back. We're back. Okay. As you can see, I have got everything finished on the KR-680 rotator and controller. I'm going to show you, have a bit of a run through with this, but I just thought I'd show you this all done. I got a bit carried away and I got the whole thing assembled and everything. I took a few photos, but I didn't do much else, and I did a bit else here and there. So as you can see, we have now got labels on it. It's all in there. I've got labelled it there. I've labelled it on the bottom. As you know, I've already put the recoil inserts in. I've aligned it with my alignment marks. A few more labels on here, of course I can. So, mask lamps are on. I'll just loosen up a bit so you can show moving in and out. So, I thought we'd do this and show it going around and around. So let's move some of this stuff out of the road. Oh, we've got the plug for the rotator, and this is the LTW plug, and the cinch plug for the controller. So let's move this other stuff out of the road. Right, moving forward a little bit, and we shall plug our test cables in. Give ourselves a bit of power. Oh, it's not in the middle, can't have that. So we need to come across a little bit. Forward a bit maybe. So I can reach the down thing, I just a little bit further forward. That should not hit, I don't think. A little bit further across. Okay, there we go. Rightio. So okay, we're here. Let's turn him on, and I'm already at north. So basically, you've seen this going before in the previous video, the controller net. Now you actually get to see the rotator going around and around as well. As you see, the LED illumination is working quite well. Righty-o. So let's we're in low speed mode, and we can then speed him up. And the actual pot is really light. You can actually hold the button down and basically turn the knob at the same time. Stop there, and you can do slow speed start up. We are back around the limit switches. Should have my hand on the road there, shouldn't I? Here we go. So we go the other way. Just slow speed, and as you can set this down quite low, being the DC rotator. Turn the speed up. If I remember correctly, I did some tests on this. It's about 120 seconds at low speed and about 50 seconds at high speed. We'll stop at north again, start again, go to 3/4 speed, or not 3/4, there's 3/4 speed there, stop again, go backwards and forwards, I had to do some more minor changes. The actual pot in the back of the meter adjustment pot was a bit faulty. Caused me a bit of grief, but yeah, it's all working now. So round we go, 150 degrees. We'll slow it down before we get into the end stops, or the limit switches I should say. Here we go, right, limit switches. So basically let's go back the other way, go slow, you see how slow it's going. On this side this time. Speed up a little bit. We'll stop it eased. Stop it eased. Go again. Get a bit more speed going. And then as we come down to north, we'll slow it right down and we'll stop smack bang on north. And we're done. Well, there's a few revolutions and showing this all working. A few revolutions of the rotator and controller, I should say. And basically, this is all done now. I can take a few more photos and basically get this thing. I've got to go to the manual yet, so that's something else I'm going to do. So, okie dokie. So, we're all done and dusted. And it runs, yippee, and we're finished. All good skis. We shall catch you in the next project. Bye. Turn that off. Turn that off.